Alright, I'm currently up here in Royston, Georgia. I haven't been up here in like forever, so I figured I'd stop back by. And as you can see, I'm currently on the right-of-way of the Hartwell Railroad, and as you can see, they've come in since the last time I was here, which was years ago, and they've actually removed this second track here that was a siding. They've got another one in here, so there was originally 3 tracks. You can see where that one stops, the main line, and then you can see the depot track. In fact, the depot's right there. And then here's part of downtown Royston. Royston's not really a big town, but it is still a fairly decent sized one. But yeah, you can see there used to be a switch here. I remember this track still being in place back when I was here last. So if I had to guess, they're probably doing this to either get rid of rail or get usable ties. I don't know. It wasn't hard for them to remove the track, I know that much. Heck, this rail here seems like it was replaced recently, so that means they must have pulled this up recently too. Yeah, you can see one of the other industries that was still trackside. And here's the main line, so I'm going to walk on the depot side track now that's pretty much no longer used. That's this here. Of course, as you know with me, I'm going to get photographs. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3. There we are. I'm trying to get one of the main line, because why not? Yeah. You can tell they don't really use the siding anymore or at all because, well, the ties are near to non-existent, so most of the ties have actually rotted. Yeah, the other reason I wanted to come up here is because of the depot. In fact, that's it right there. Passenger/freight depot. Which is basically a combination, if you will. Just making sure I don't get hit. Yeah, I remember my dad and my younger sister came out here 4 or 5 years ago, and we came up here to Royston. Of course, that track right there was still in place all the way up to there, and then they came in, of course, toward the switch out. But here's the depot. I'm going to cross the track. In fact, you can actually tell which rail is newer, or was at least bought second-hand. This T-rail is taller, and it's made of a heavier, and it's a much heavier grade. This is the older kind. This here is older, and it's made of a lighter grade. In other words, the weight is different. And I'm pretty sure at one time there was more tracks over here. Heck, I bet right in here, judging by the ballast I'm seeing, there was probably at least, at the most, probably 5 or 6 tracks, 5 or 6 sidings here. So there must have been a small yard at one time. And of course, then they came in and tore it out over the years. But you can see the depot. Let me wipe the camera lens off. Going back up here. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can see there would have been a freight door there, a freight door there. The telegraph operator's window would have been somewhere around here, and that would have been the passenger waiting room there on the right side. The freight portion would have been here. And, well, right here confirms what I was thinking about the yard. There's joint bars and tie plates galore right in here, as well as a bunch of old ties that they've replaced. There's also coal here probably from back when the railroad hauled coal over to the UGA plant. Or from, believe it or not, when they ran a steam locomotive. Yeah, the Hartwell Railroad did in fact have a steam locomotive running at one time in, I think, very brief stint of excursions. And then, of course, later on they stopped. They stopped running the excursion train in, I think, the mid to late 80s. Yeah, but I don't know who owns the depot now, but hey, you can actually see what it used to be painted as, that beautiful yellow and red trim there. Of course, then they just have it as this on the back. Either way, though, it's nice to see it still standing. Now, I remember right in here, my dad and I ended up getting an older railroad crossing sign, an old wood-mounted railroad crossing sign, similar to that one, but except the pole was a lot older. In other words, it had fallen, it had broken at the base and was just tossed off to the side. So, yeah, I'm currently looking as I'm crossing the road here. Yeah, and I remember these flat cars here, these have been stored here for pretty much ever. You can tell the siding is pretty much abandoned. So, you know what I'm going to do? I don't have to say it except for the countdown. So, there's a bolt for the joint bars. As you can see, it's been torched. Of course, right here is where they have old flat cars. And then right here would have been some kind of industry, probably a mill of some kind, judging by the offloading ports I'm seeing. Of course, as you can see, the mill has since been torn down. This is all that's left. I think it was probably a grain mill or something where they offloaded grain or cement products. I don't know. You can see where the loading platform would have been, right in there. And I think these cars have been here since, well, about the time my dad and I were here last, which was like 5 years ago again. Scrappers right there taking stuff. Well, and in fact, these old flat cars here are actually, believe it or not, were actually used for to carry truck trailers. That's what these flat cars here would have been used for. Because in the pretty much from the start of the 70s until about the time the railroads were deregulated back in 1980, they would actually haul tractor trailers, semi-truck trailers, and they would use these type of flat cars here. They would load maybe 1 or 2 semi-trailers up on one car, because back then the semi-trailers were a lot shorter. So you could load, like, say 1 or 2 on one flat car, tie them down, and that's how they would transport them. And back then, of course, they would be very hot trains, and in other words, they would be having a very high priority. You can see where they would have dumped, they had dumped a new ballast. Yeah, so it looks like they're getting ready to, yeah, they're pretty much tearing out this siding. In fact, I can see where the switch used to be, and of course they've since come in and got rid of that. What the heck? Huh. So is that part of a car or part of a train? I don't know. Weird. Oh, look here. This here, that's the brake shoe. Right there is a bearing, either a bearing or part of a coupler. Right there. It's been chucked off. More of these old flat cars. Gonna walk on this track that's pretty much been severed. Yeah, because I remember back when all of this was still spiked down and hooked up and all. It's amazing how much an area can change in just 5 years. Because, yeah, I remember when these switches were still here, they've come in and completely torched them and tore them out. So they're using what's left of the stub track as storage. And right here is evidence of a recent derailment that they had. I can tell because look at because the damage to the tires, that's recent. If I dare say, it's very recent. I just noticed this now. Only godsend with the Hartwell Railroad is that well, they run their trains very slow. So, but I'm still sure it was. I'm sure it was still a very major derailment. Yeah, because you can see where the wheel was bouncing in between the tires and the ballast. And if I can walk down far enough, I'll probably find the point where it jumped the tracks. Because I can see, if I zoom in, you can see the derailment damage in the tires. Hell, I think actually the train derailed. Whatever storage train they had derailed up here because I can see where the tires are covered. But I can also see where they've just dumped tons of rail. Yeah, I can see there's, I guess, new tires they're going to try and install. Oh, dang, hold on. Oh, shoot, look here. Yeah, look right here. Now this here is derailed, you can tell, because the wheel's off the track. So I'll need to, have to let them know that they've got a car that's on the ground right here. Yeah, both trucks are on the ground here. This set of wheels here, they're not on the track. I hope they've realized that when they come to haul these out. Because I don't know if the railroad has a jack. Okay, so this one's still on the track. And of course this one's on the track. So it seems like one of them jumped. And I can also see, yeah, they just dumped random bits of ballast here. Still doesn't help the fact that they, oh shoot. Not only are these things derailed, they're isolated. They can't go anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, not only are these flat cars stuck here, derailed here, but they are stuck here. Because, well, look here. The track's gone. They ripped it up. Yes, sir, that is exactly what it is. They have ripped it up completely. Either they ripped it up or they're going to try and repair it so they can get those out. Actually, I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I don't know if they're going to rip this up and try and haul those cars out, or if they're going to call in a contractor to come in and cut them up where they're sitting. Yeah, right here you can see brand new ties that they've put in, where they're going to try and put new ballast in. Yeah, so evidently they had a derailment here recently, and they've since come in and added new ties, new rail, new ballast. They're going to try and add new ballast. If they want to try and dig up a ton of this scrap metal, they could. Now you can see where they came in and completely ripped the second track up. In fact, there's the rail right there. They just hauled the ties out and just drug the rail back. You see the equipment they brought in to do it with too. So I don't know if Hartwell's getting ready to cut a lot of this stuff back, like just haul all this trackage off, or if they're going to come in and rebuild it. I really don't know, but if I had to guess, that's probably what they're going to do. I'll have to talk to Zena. He's a friend of mine who actually... Yeah, so where I'm walking, there would have been railroad track. You can see all the ties that they drug out, and then you can see the rails for this track, for this siding, and they just drug them to where they're now laying beside the main line. And I don't know if they're going to go in, have them cut up and hauled out or what, but I tell you, if they took their time and got all of the scrap metal up, like all of the, dumped rail, ballast, rail, spikes, joint bars, bolts, nuts, etc., they could probably get a good amount of money. And they could probably put it to use in replacing a lot of this rail. I'm kind of wondering now, how bad of a derailment did they have to where it caused them to remove an entire siding? I mean, either they had a derailment and removed the siding afterwards, or they're getting ready to make a new set of railroad track coming in. I don't know. It's probably one of the two, though. I just hope they're not being forced to rip this up. But either way, I could be wrong. But you can see where they've been replacing ties and all, because right here, that's a brand new tie. You can see you can tell which ties are new and otherwise. So they're trying to, I don't know, I guess they're trying to update all this trackage. And as crazy as it sounds, judging by the rail, either the rail was bought secondhand or they had a train come through here recently. I don't know, but fact is, I've never actually caught the Hartwell Railroad running any trains. I've photographed their units many times, but I've only photographed them sitting still. But what they need is the kind of maintenance of way machine that CSX has, that has an electric magnet on it, where they could come in, put the magnet down, pick up all of the metal, put it in a gondola or something, and just haul it to some scrapyard somewhere that'll take the steel, because the steel they use for railroad construction is a very high grade material, and as a result it probably has a very high value. Like all the spikes, tie plates, rail, joint bars, nuts, bolts, washers, all of the stuff that they've had to just replace and just simply dump off the side, they could actually have that hauled off. Like all that there could actually be hauled off, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, that's all that's left of the switches too. That's probably what ended up being damaged in the derailment. But this is actually fairly interesting. I did not expect to see any of this when I came down here. Like, I didn't expect to come down here and then find both sets of tracks on either side of the main line ripped up. And I didn't expect to see evidence of where they came in and had to replace a good chunk of track. I mean, look at this. They need to get their own maintenance of way equipment that's brand new and not like second hand. Because a lot of the maintenance of way equipment they've got in use is stuff that was given to them second hand. So basically they got the stuff that the railroads knew was going to basically give out at some point. So as a result, a lot of their maintenance of way equipment is pretty much, ironically enough, out of service or just barely running, which is not good. It's not good in the slightest. I mean, the fact is, if they want to keep this rail line operational and running to where they don't have derailments like what you see the damage on those ties from, if they don't want to have those kinds of derailments, they need to get the more up-to-date and, dare I say, better maintenance of way equipment. I mean, look at this. If somebody put that across the track, it would derail the train. So I just took that and chucked it off to the sides for them. Yeah, all this scrap rail, all of the scrap metal they've already dumped alongside the track. The one track that coming into town that is still active, that could all be hauled off. I mean, look here. Piece of rail that's been torched. See, I noticed stuff like this. I can see bits of steel, bits of metal. They don't realize that if they leave this here, people are going to go and steal it for scrap money. Whereas if they got it, they could actually sell it and get a decent amount of money for it. I'm talking about the railroad, if they got it and sold it, instead of just leaving it there. And you can see the switch here. So they've basically come in and severed or cut both of the side tracks on either side of the main line, which is the center track. They've cut that. I mean, I've heard whispers and rumors of them trying to get an excursion train running, but they're going to have to get the track up to the standard that's required of like Amtrak or CSX in order to do that. And the sad fact is, that's probably not going to happen straight away. If I had to guess it, that's something that probably won't happen until 50 years from now, if the railroad even still runs. And that's if the railroad's even still running. In fact, you can actually see right there where they're actually trying to get welded rail, second-hand welded rail. Of course, you can tell this is short line because, I mean, the obvious way you can tell is because the the trackage still uses joint bars. You don't see that on Class 1 railroads. Heck, you don't even see that on most Class 2 or 3 short lines that are actually running successfully. Because a lot of them are slowly starting to move into using continuous welded rail. There's a good number that still have the joint bar method in use, like the jointed rail, but they're slowly being phased out. I mean, concerning the Hartwell and Athens line, all that, if they don't want this route of theirs to end up like their route that used to run through Manchester, Georgia, or whatever the name of that town was, then they need to step up their game. Otherwise, they're going to have a huge problem on their hands. Yeah, before y'all ask, the track I'm walking on right now, track 3, it's abandoned. They've torched it in both directions. Heck, the track towards the station and the track I'm walking on are both completely cut. They no longer connect to the main line. As for those flat cars, well, I'm guessing they're probably going to have somebody come in and cut them up. Like, they can't. I don't think there's any real value with them as far as using them for freight service, because Well, I don't know of any. I haven't seen a semi-truck trailer hauled on those types of flat cars recently. Sometimes they haul them on well cars, but that's about it. And even that's becoming rare. Well, I'm probably going to end it here, so I will, I'll see y'all later, I suppose.